perhaps the watcher, the viewer of this video and our discussion doesn't know about geotechnologies to apply spatial thinking. Maybe we should unpack that a little bit. I met you in 2022 when I was at your University of North Florida campus as part of my work to support GIS, geotechnologies, in teaching, research, and also in campus operations. We had a wonderful day together, and I quickly gained respect for all the good things that you're doing there. In your view, Yergalem, how can geotechnologies be a key way to foster applied spatial thinking?
Thank you very much, Joseph. Yeah, I had also the same impression during that meeting. It was, a short meeting, and even with that short meeting, we had a kind of side conversation, and I was already, impressed by, what you told me and what you are doing, and immediately I start to, think, how you are passionate about the field of geography, and then, very soon I was very much attached, with your idea. And then, the whole day we had, now and then conversation. And then suddenly, this spatial literacy and the spatial thinking, pop up. And so that's where our conversation and this video idea came up. I believe that geotechnologies are the most powerful tools that are in our hands. These technologies have already started, improving student engagement and enhancement in their spatial thinking. We already saw, and every time our enrollment students in GIS is increasing from time to time. So it's, we are seeing a progress in that direction. And also another important technology advantage we have is, in the past, getting data is so hard. I mean, even though you have the technology, but getting appropriate or relevant data was a major issue. Now the technology is there, and you are able to easily get data, for example, like, GPS or remote sensing, scanning, GPS app, and all those generally are now available, and they are easily accessible. Therefore, this is one of the advantages that promotes spatial thinking. And this technology helps the learner to capture their own data, because nowadays, if you have cell phone, you can just get GPS data, then you can have image data, and then you can use, that to powerful data to analyze and also interpret and even display, as well as share the data. And when people are working on their own data, they are more fascinating than doing on data which they don't know, or it doesn't make, give them sense. But if they are able to start from the scratch and do the whole process and come up with some kind of solid work, then that makes them more successful, and they feel more confident, and also they feel that they can do something using GIS skill. I think that is one of the main implication of using GIS technologies in spatial thinking.
Indeed, well said. The advent of the web GIS paradigm, along with tools that are easily used by students and even the general public to gather their own data, I think is really powerful. Survey 123, for example, I mean, you and I both use it to have students gather data on tree species, litter, water quality, infrastructure, dangerous intersections in their community gardens, etc. Litter, noise, you name it. They can collect data in their own local area. Another, sort of going from local student gathered data to ways to foster spatial thinking through geotechnologies. I think the Living Atlas of the World ArcGIS apps are a great small library to provide some introductions to applying spatial thinking. For example, that world water balance, where students examine maps and data on evapotranspiration, precipitation over space and time globally and then also regionally. That's a powerful tool. Why is water important? Why do we need to learn about it, et cetera? And what are the patterns over the last 20 years with water, different measures of water, precipitation, et cetera? Also, the Landsat Imagery Explorer, where they examine such variables as urbanization, healthy vegetation, and also that Wayback Imagery app, where students can interactively examine images and changes in forest cover, coastal erosion, urbanization, glacial retreat, and other changes. They've got terabytes of satellite imagery at their fingertips. And digging deeper, they can gather data in the field, like we talked about, in their own local area. If, let's say it's on water, and then they anchor it to what they just learned about in terms of global water issues. So there's a local study that they've done, and they anchor it to the global study. I think that that's powerful. And then finally, being able to map the data, analyze it, and then communicate about it, right? In dashboards, story maps, instant apps, and other ways where they can tell others, and they, again, coming back to the vocabulary that we talked about earlier, they can articulate why this issue matters to them and why it should matter to others that are watching or looking at their infographic, their dashboard, their story map, right? They can communicate about it in ways that we couldn't do that a few short years ago.
Yeah, that's true, Joseph. Thank you very much. I think you just raised a very important issue here. Just curious, Joseph, I know you did a lot of work in those areas, and what sort of skills are they gaining while working with those data sets and with GIS and remote sensing tools?
We could have a whole separate hour on this, my friend. But in brief, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this as well. I think by working with geotechnologies, and I've also observed this over the last decades with students from primary, secondary, community, technical, and tribal colleges on to university and lifelong learning. There's a whole set of skills. I'll just focus on a few. Certainly, students are gaining skills in the use of GIS, how to buffer, how to geocode a list of addresses, et cetera. But more importantly, I believe they're gaining skills in communication, analysis, critical thinking, even about data, using data. I've got a whole blog with a colleague called Spatial Reserves on where do I find data, how do I know if it's any good, and then societal issues like copyright and location privacy and scale and so on. And they're gaining skills in spatial thinking, central to our discussion today. And these skills that you and I have been talking about are in much demand in the workplace. Science, including the emerging data sciences, business engineering, design, mathematics, geodesign, city planning, energy, natural resource management. I mean, the list goes on. It's public safety, social work, communication, and many other fields. And that demand will only increase in the future, right? As people are becoming more aware of serious issues, including the UN SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, are increasingly complex, they're spatial, and they increasingly affect our everyday lives. The demand is going to increase for these skills. And also, I'd like to hear what you think about this issue, but also we want to encourage the people watching this to think about, while you're watching us talk about this, what can you do in your own personal and professional networks to foster spatial thinking? It could be working with your local elementary school. It could be connecting with your alma mater. It could be serving as a geo mentor to new professionals, et cetera. There are things that you can do that we could talk about, but we want you to also think about this while you're watching us.
Thank you, Joseph. Just to add a little bit on what you stated on what kind of skills they can get from this geospatial technology or applying geospatial technology. I think so you already mentioned almost most of them. So I would just say that our students gain both a skill that they can sell it and also a skill that they can apply their daily life. So it's a kind of a dual advantage. You can sell it if you are in any one of my students last year GIS students got now an intern in transportation department here in Florida. So it's very important. Even when you are a student, you'll be able to get a kind of a job which, where you are able to develop your skill at the same time also get some, pocket money. So you are able to gain a skill that you can sell it, you can make money out of it. You can get a skill that you can solve your daily problem. I mean, look at, for example, okay, now you are driving from home to work, and you no your regular road or street is closed, and you don't have any access, to drive through your regular driving paths. And then automatically your brain works, and okay, now I have to reroute my direction. Which one is the best route? Which direction will be the best, and how I will be, fast, to be on time at work. And this is just, the basic skill that we need every day, using your GPS and understanding also, the GPS, how the GPS is guiding you. Sometimes you have verbal guide, or voice guide, and sometimes you have also map guide. So even that understanding needs, spatial thinking. So back to our audience, I think what I think is providing feedback and reflecting their opinion on what we have raised today is one of the most important. It's like asking, thoughts, provoking question, and sharing the video, keeping this discussion live, moving it to the second level where we can, have, more people together and think about. I mean, spatial literacy is a critical skill here now, and we are really in a critical shortage of special skill in at any level of our schools, whether it is K-12 or college level. American schools should be worried about spatial literacy, and so this discussion shouldn't be just stopped here. Let others, come up with their own, ideas, thought-provoking questions, and any kind of, way we can work together. And that's, what I would expect the contribution of our viewers. I hope that will happen.
Indeed, Yergalem, you're making me think of two last bits to share with people. First, we've got a new article in Directions magazine about geography in our everyday lives that touches exactly on what Yergalem and I have been chatting about today, and that is, there's an article about how you can go through a typical day and purposefully think about spatial thinking and why it matters. And also there's a survey in there to fill out that it's optional, but when did you have your last geography course? What do you think about all these topics? So take a look at that, geography in our everyday lives. I got a link right here to it. And also you touched on one of my favorite diagrams is that ikigai diagram from the Japanese. And that is, it's a concept meaning a reason for being. You touched on, yes, if you develop these skills on your tool belt, you can actually be paid for it. You can provide for your family. That's a good thing. And the other spheres besides what you can be paid for in that ikigai diagram, and I've got it right here for you to look at, what you're good at, what you love, and what the world needs. So along with what you can be paid for, those four elements are important. What you're good at, what you love to do, what the world needs, and what can you be paid for. Now, are Yergalem and I in that center of that sweet spot of those four intersecting spheres on a daily basis? No, but we feel that this is an important endeavor. And lastly, what you're touching on, Yergalem, I think is so important also, and that is the world needs spatial thinkers. We need holistic thinkers. Why? Because we've got some serious problems in our world, right? Biodiversity loss, equity, natural hazards, resilience, growth. We've got 8 billion humans. We got to feed them. We've got to provide for their livelihoods. I mean, education, water, oh gosh, health, and the list could go on. But we're very encouraged in the face of all those pressing issues that people are starting to realize that this matters and that we need to teach it and then nurture it so that when students graduate from our respective educational institutions, they can be the positive change agents that we so desperately need in our world. Yergalem, thank you. It was an honor speaking with you about these important topics today. And we want to tell the viewer of this video that we're happy, as you touched on, my friend, to talk with anyone interested. Find us on LinkedIn. We can chat more.
Thank you, Joseph. It is a great honor to be with you today to discuss about spatial thinking. Thank you very much for initiating this idea and working hard to make it happen today. I'm really very much grateful for what you did, and you did a great job. I highly encourage our viewers to leave their comments, thoughts, and a question to promote a spatial literacy in our school. Thank you very much.